Wealthy CEO walked into his doctor's office and froze. His ex was wearing the white coat, and a little girl had his eyes. "What?" he finally whispered. "I was pregnant," Sutton repeated, her voice breaking. "I found out 2 days after you signed with Blackwood Development. 2 days after you left that pathetic note on our kitchen counter and disappeared like I meant nothing to you. Sutton, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "I know you didn't know," she said, her voice rising with 8 years of suppressed pain. "That's the problem, Archer. You left before I could tell you. You chose your precious career over us before you even knew there was an us." "If I had known," Archer started, but she cut him off. "Would it have mattered?" she demanded. "Really? Would you have stayed? Or would you have felt trapped? Would you have resented me for ruining your big opportunity?" He wanted to say he would have stayed. He wanted to promise he would have chosen her. But the truth was, at 26, terrified and ambitious, he honestly didn't know what he would have done. And that uncertainty must have shown on his face because Sutton laughed bitterly. "That's what I thought," she said. "So I went through it alone. 22 hours of labor with no one holding my hand. No one to tell me I was doing great. No one to cut the umbilical cord or cry with me when they placed her on my chest. Her." The word hit Archer like a physical blow. "You had the baby." "Of course I had the baby." Sutton wiped her eyes angrily. "Her name is Cora. She's 7 years old. She's brilliant and kind and funny, and she asks about her father sometimes. She asks why she doesn't have a daddy like the other kids. And do you know what I tell her?" Archer couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "I tell her that her father had to go away, that sometimes adults make complicated choices, that it wasn't her fault." Sutton's voice cracked completely. "But every time I say it, I see the hurt in her eyes. I see her wondering if she wasn't good enough to make her father stay. And I hate you for that, Archer. I hate you for making my daughter feel like she's not enough." The coffee shop conversation continued. But let me take you back to where this story really began. Back to the moment 3 days earlier when Archer Thorne walked into a routine medical appointment and discovered that the past he'd been running from had finally caught up with him. Back to the moment that would change 3 lives forever. 8 years, 2 months, and 11 days. That's how long it had been since Archer Thorne had destroyed the only thing that ever truly mattered. He could have calculated it down to the hours, down to the minutes if someone asked. Not that anyone ever did. When you're a billionaire CEO, people don't ask about your regrets. They ask about your portfolio. The morning started like any other morning in Archer's carefully constructed life. His alarm went off at 5:30 in his downtown Seattle penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of Elliott Bay that most people only saw in magazines. His espresso machine, imported from Italy and worth more than a decent used car, produced a perfect shot of caffeine. His personal trainer arrived at 6 for their session in the building's private gym. By 8, he was showered, dressed in a suit that cost $3,000, and reviewing acquisition reports for his company's latest development project. Thorne Development Group had its fingers in half the major construction projects in the Pacific Northwest. Shopping centers, office buildings, luxury condos. Archer had built an empire on steel and glass and concrete. At 34, he was worth just over $200 million. Forbes had recently featured him in their 40 Under 40 issue. The article called him a visionary, a titan of industry, a man who saw the future of urban development before anyone else. What the article didn't mention was that Archer's king-sized bed felt too big every night, that he sometimes made coffee for 2 out of habit before remembering he lived alone. That success tasted like ash in his mouth because there was no one to share it with. The medical appointment wasn't his idea. His assistant, Patricia, had scheduled it after his board of directors expressed concern about his workaholic tendencies. Annual physical, standard executive health screening, nothing serious. Just boxes to check for insurance purposes. Harborview Medical Group occupied the entire 15th floor of a building Archer's company had designed 5 years ago. He'd walked past it 100 times without ever going inside. The elevator ride up gave him time to scroll through emails on his phone. A contractor in Tacoma needed approval on material changes. His CFO wanted to discuss the quarterly projections. An investor from Dubai was interested in discussing a partnership worth $500 million. The usual noise of running an empire. The elevator doors opened to reveal a modern waiting room done in soothing blues and grays. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The air smelled like antiseptic and something floral he couldn't quite place. A young receptionist looked up with a professional smile. Good morning. Welcome to Harborview Medical Group. Do you have an appointment? Archer Thorne. 9 o'clock with Dr. Reed, I think. The receptionist checked her computer, then her smile brightened. Oh, yes, Mr. Thorne. Actually, you're scheduled with Dr. Reed. She's our head of cardiology. Just the best. You're very lucky to get an appointment with her. Dr. Reed. The name meant nothing to Archer. He nodded politely while the receptionist handed him a clipboard with the usual stack of forms. Insurance information, medical history, emergency contact. He left the last one blank like he always did. If you'll just have a seat, Dr. Reed will be with you shortly. The waiting room had exactly 3 other people in it. An elderly man reading a newspaper, a middle-aged woman scrolling on her phone, and in the corner, at a small table clearly set up for children, a little girl with auburn hair bent over a jigsaw puzzle. Archer sat in one of the ergonomic chairs and tried to focus on the forms, but his attention kept drifting to the child. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8, wearing a blue dress with some kind of pattern on it. Solar panels, he realized. Her dress had tiny solar panels printed all over it. She worked on her puzzle with intense concentration, occasionally humming to herself. Something about her seemed familiar in a way he couldn't quite name. The curve of her cheek, the way she tilted her head when she concentrated. It nagged at him like a word on the tip of his tongue. Mr. Thorne? He looked up. A nurse in navy scrubs stood at the door leading back to the examination rooms. We're ready for you. If you'll follow me, please. Dr. Reed is just finishing up with another patient, but she'll be right with you. Archer followed the nurse down a corridor lined with medical posters about heart health and blood pressure. Examination room 2 was small but well equipped. The usual paper-covered table, blood pressure cuff, sanitizer dispenser on the wall. A framed medical degree hung next to the door, but Archer didn't look at it closely. Dr. Reed will be right in, the nurse said, closing the door behind her. Archer sat on the crinkly paper and went back to his phone. The Dubai investor had sent another email. The opportunity was growing. They wanted to meet next week to discuss terms. $500 million for a 3-year commitment to design an entire sustainable district in Dubai. 50 buildings. Legacy-defining work. Everything Archer had worked for since walking away from Seattle 8 years ago. He was composing a response when the door opened. Archer looked up, half focused on his email, and his entire world came to a screeching halt. Time didn't slow down. It stopped completely. The woman standing in the doorway wore a white coat over dark slacks and a blue blouse. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a low bun. She carried a tablet and wore a stethoscope around her neck like armor. She was more beautiful than his memory had allowed, more real, more solid, more everything. And she was staring at him with the same shocked expression he knew was on his own face. The tablet slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. The sound echoed through the small room like a gunshot. Neither of them moved to pick it up. Archer, she whispered. His name on her lips, after 8 years of silence, felt like swallowing broken glass and honey at the same time. Sutton. Her maiden name came out automatically, but then he saw the nameplate on her coat. Dr. Sutton Reed. She'd done it. She'd become the cardiologist she'd always dreamed of being. She'd achieved everything she'd said she would. Without him. The silence stretched between them like an ocean. 8 years of unspoken words, unanswered questions, unmade apologies. Archer's heart hammered against his ribs so hard he wondered if she could hear it. Sutton bent slowly to pick up her tablet, her movements careful and deliberate, like she was trying not to spook a wild animal. When she straightened, her professional mask had slipped into place, but Archer could see the cracks in it. The slight tremor in her hands. The way she wouldn't quite meet his eyes. "Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "I apologize for the unprofessional entrance. If you'll have a seat on the examination table, we can begin your checkup." Mr. Thorne, as if they were strangers, as if he hadn't once known every inch of her skin, every dream she'd whispered. In the dark, every way to make her laugh until she couldn't breathe. "Sutton, please," Archer started, but she cut him off. "Dr. Reed," she corrected, her voice sharp as a scalpel. "In this office, it's Dr. Reed. Now, according to your chart, you're here for an annual executive physical. Is that correct?" The formality was a weapon, and they both knew it. Archer nodded slowly, playing along because what else could he do? "Yes," the board insisted. "I see." Sutton tapped something on her tablet without looking at him. "Any current health concerns? Chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness. Only the dizziness of seeing you again, Archer thought, but didn't say. No, nothing like that. Family history of heart disease? The question was routine, but it landed like a punch. Family. What family did Archer have? His parents had passed away years ago. He had no siblings, no wife, no children. His family was spreadsheets and property deeds and an empty penthouse. No, he said quietly. Sutton nodded and made a note. Let me get your vitals. If you could roll up your sleeve, please. She moved closer, and Archer caught the scent of her perfume. Jasmine. She'd always worn jasmine. The scent's memory hit him so hard he almost gasped. Lazy Sunday mornings. Her head on his chest. The little apartment they'd shared that had cost almost nothing and meant everything. Your heart rate is elevated, Sutton observed, looking at the blood pressure monitor instead of him. I wonder why, Archer murmured. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't respond. Professional to the core. She wrapped the cuff around his arm, and even through his shirt, the brief contact of her fingers made his skin burn. Deep breath, she instructed. He obeyed. She listened to his lungs, her face carefully blank. Then she moved the stethoscope to his chest, directly over his heart. The heart that had stopped beating properly the day he left her. The heart that had just started working again, the moment she'd walked through the door. Again, please. Archer breathed in and out, hyper-aware of every second of her proximity. She was so close he could see the tiny scar on her chin from the time she'd tripped over his drafting table. Could see the silver flecks in her gray eyes. Could see the moment she realized he was staring at her. She stepped back quickly, removing the stethoscope. Everything appears normal, she said, typing notes on her tablet. Blood pressure is slightly elevated, but that could be situational stress. Situational stress. That was one hell of an understatement. I'm going to recommend a full cardiac workup, Sutton continued. Blood work, EKG, stress test. Standard procedure for someone in your position. My position? For the first time since she'd composed herself, she looked directly at him, really looked at him, and Archer saw everything in her eyes. The hurt, the anger, the carefully buried hope that maybe, just maybe, he would explain why he'd destroyed them. High-stress career, she said, each word deliberate. High-stakes decisions, the kind of lifestyle that prioritizes work above all else. The accusation hung in the air between them. Sutton, Archer said again, unable to help himself. Please, can we just talk? Can we? Mommy, I finished my puzzle. The voice came from outside in the hallway, young and bright and excited. Archer watched Sutton's entire body tense. The door pushed open, and the little girl from the waiting room appeared. The one with auburn hair and the solar panel dress. She held up a completed jigsaw puzzle of the human circulatory system, beaming with pride. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Sutton said, but her voice was strained, in a way that made Archer's instincts scream that something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. Is this your patient, Mommy? The little girl asked, studying Archer with open curiosity. He looked surprised. Are you going to make him feel better? Mommy. The word hit Archer like a freight train. This was Sutton's daughter. Sutton had a child. The math was already happening in his head before he could stop it. The girl was maybe 7 years old. 8 years since he'd left. The timeline fit. The timeline fit perfectly. But it wasn't until the little girl turned to fully face him, puzzle still clutched, in her small hands, that Archer felt his heart actually stop beating. Her eyes. Oh God, her eyes. They were blue-green, the exact shade his mother used to call ocean storm, because they shifted between blue and green depending on the light. They were his eyes. His exact eyes staring at him from a 7-year-old face that had Sutton's bone structure and his coloring, and oh God, oh God, oh God. The room tilted. The air left Archer's lungs in a rush. His hands gripped the edge of the examination table to keep himself upright. Cora, Sutton said, her voice tight with panic barely concealed. Go back to your table, sweetheart. Mommy needs to finish working. But I wanted to show you my puzzle. The girl, Cora, protested. I see it, baby. It's beautiful. Now please, go color or read your book. I'll be done soon. Okay, Mommy. Cora skipped back toward the door, then paused to look at Archer again. I hope you feel better, mister. Mommy's really good at fixing hearts. Then she was gone, leaving Archer and Sutton alone in a silence so heavy it felt like drowning. She's mine, Archer said. Not a question. A statement of fact that he knew in his bones, in his blood, in every cell of his body. Sutton closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were filled with tears she refused to let fall. "Her name is Cora," Sutton said quietly. "She's 7 years old. She likes building things and learning about the human body and asking questions I don't always know how to answer, like why her daddy isn't around." Archer couldn't speak, couldn't think, couldn't process the enormity of what he was hearing. "I'll have the receptionist schedule your follow-up appointments," Sutton continued, her voice hollow. "Blood work, EKG, stress test. Standard procedure." "Sutton, please. Dr. Reed." She turned to leave, but paused with her hand on the door handle. She didn't turn around. "She's 7, Sutton said, her voice barely audible. "In case you were doing the math. In case you were wondering. I found out I was pregnant 2 days after you left. I called you for 2 months trying to tell you, but you never answered. You never came back. So I did it alone." "I didn't know," Archer whispered, the words pathetically inadequate. "I know you didn't know. That's what makes this so much worse." And then she was gone, leaving Archer alone in the examination room with the sound of his own ragged breathing and the weight of 7 years of absence crushing his chest. He had a daughter, a 7-year-old daughter who had his eyes and Sutton's smile and absolutely no idea that the stranger in her mother's office was her father, a daughter who had grown up without him, birthday parties he'd missed, first days of school he hadn't been there for, scraped knees he hadn't kissed better, bedtime stories he'd never read, 7 years of her life that he could never get back. Outside, he could hear Cora's voice asking Sutton if the surprised man was going to be okay, and Archer pressed his hands against his face and wondered the same thing. How do you recover from discovering you'd thrown away everything that mattered? How do you come back from missing 7 years of your child's life? How do you even begin to make amends for damage this catastrophic? Archer didn't have answers. All he had were questions and regrets so deep it felt like drowning in the image of his daughter's eyes, his eyes, staring at him with innocent curiosity. He left the medical office in a daze. The receptionist tried to hand him appointment cards for his follow-up tests, but Archer barely registered her words. He made it to his Tesla in the parking garage before his legs gave out and he had to sit in the driver's seat, hands shaking too badly to turn the ignition. His phone buzzed. The Dubai investor, again. The $500 million opportunity, the legacy-defining project. Everything he'd sacrificed the past 8 years to achieve. Archer stared at the message and felt absolutely nothing. What did buildings matter when he'd missed watching his daughter grow up? What did money mean when he'd abandoned the woman he loved? What good was any of his success if it was built on the foundation of the worst mistake of his life? He pulled up his contacts and scrolled to a name he'd saved 8 years ago, but never deleted. Sutton Reed. Her number was probably different now. She'd probably blocked him. But his finger hovered over the call button anyway, muscle memory of 1,000 times he'd almost called, and then chickened out. Not this time. This time he pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Archer's heart hammered. Then voicemail picked up. "You've reached Dr. Sutton Reed. I'm unable to take your call right now. Please leave a message, and I'll return your call as soon as possible. If this is a medical emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Her voice, professional, composed, nothing like the girl who used to leave him rambling voicemails about her day. The beep sounded, and Archer realized he had no idea what to say. "Sutton, it's Archer. I know I have no right to call. I know I gave up that right 8 years ago when I left. But please, please, we need to talk. About Cora. About everything. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. Please call me back." He hung up and immediately felt like an idiot. What was a voicemail going to accomplish? What were words going to fix after 8 years of silence? The drive back to his penthouse was a blur. Seattle's downtown streets passed by his windows like a movie he wasn't really watching. His building's doorman greeted him, but Archer didn't respond. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor took 30 seconds that felt like hours. His penthouse was exactly as he'd left it that morning. Immaculate, expensive, empty. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city he'd conquered. Modern furniture in shades of gray and black. Abstract art on the walls that an interior designer had chosen. Everything carefully curated to impress clients and business partners. Nothing that felt like home. Archer poured himself 3 fingers of scotch from a bottle that cost more than most people. his monthly rent, and stood at the window watching the city lights come on as evening fell. Somewhere out there, Sutton was probably making dinner for Cora, helping with homework, reading bedtime stories, being everything that child needed. Without him, his phone buzzed. For one desperate second, Archer thought it might be Sutton calling back. But no. It was Patricia, his assistant. The Dubai group wants to schedule a call for tomorrow morning. They're ready to move forward if you are. This could be the biggest deal of your career, Mr. Thorne. What should I tell them? Archer stared at the message for a long time. The biggest deal of his career. $500 million. Legacy-defining work. Everything he'd worked toward since leaving Seattle. And all he could think about was Cora's eyes. His eyes, staring at him with innocent curiosity, while Sutton stood there with 8 years of pain written across her face. Tell them I need more time, Archer typed back. Don't schedule anything yet. The response came quickly. Mr. Thorne, they're not going to wait forever. This is a time-sensitive opportunity. I said I need more time. He put the phone down and went back to staring at the city. Somewhere out there was his daughter. Somewhere out there was the woman he'd never stopped loving, even when he'd tried to convince himself he had. And for the first time in 8 years, Archer Thorne was going to have to figure out if redemption was possible when you'd committed the unforgivable. Sleep didn't come that night. Archer lay in his king-sized bed staring at the ceiling, his mind replaying every second of the encounter in the doctor's office. The moment Sutton had walked in, the shock on her face, the careful professionalism she'd hidden behind, the tremor in her hand she thought he hadn't noticed, and Cora. God, Cora. His daughter whose existence he'd been completely unaware of while he was building his empire in New York and then back here in Seattle. How many times had he driven past her school, her home, walked the same streets without knowing she existed? At 3 a.m, Archer gave up on sleep and went to his home office. He pulled up old files on his computer, folders he hadn't opened in years but had never been able to delete. Photos from his time with Sutton, hundreds of them. There she was at 23, laughing at something off camera, her hair wild from the wind on the day they'd gone hiking. There they were together, a selfie she'd taken in their tiny apartment kitchen. Both of them covered in flour from a failed attempt at making bread. There was the picture from the night they'd moved in together, sitting on boxes, in an empty living room, drinking cheap wine and planning their future. He scrolled through 2 years of documented happiness and felt each image like a knife to the chest. That young man in the photos had no idea what he was about to do, had no clue that in a few months he'd make the choice that would destroy all of this. Archer pulled up another folder. This one contained voicemails he'd saved, the ones Sutton had left in those 2 months after he'd left. He'd listened to them once, years ago, drunk and maudlin and drowning in regret. Then he'd saved them and never opened the folder again. Now, at 3:15 in his silent penthouse, he clicked on the first one. Hey babe, your note was really cryptic. Where did you go? Call me back when you get this. I'm starting to worry. Her voice, young and confused but not yet panicked. The timestamp showed it was from the day after he'd left. Archer's finger hovered over the next message, then clicked. Archer, it's me again. I went by your office and they said you transferred to New York? What's going on? Why didn't you tell me? Please, call me. I need to talk to you. Day 3. Worry creeping into her voice. Archer forced himself to keep listening. I don't understand what's happening. Did I do something wrong? Are you mad at me? Please, just call me back. Even if it's to break up with me, I need to hear it from you. I need to know what's going on. Day 7. The hurt was clear now. Archer pressed his fist against his mouth and kept listening. Okay, I get it. You're not calling back. I don't know why, but message received. I just want you to know that I love you. Or, I loved you. I don't even know anymore. I thought we had something real, Archer. I thought we were building a future together. I guess I was wrong. Day 12. He heard her crying in the background. Archer's own eyes burned. The messages continued. Her confusion turning to hurt turning to anger, anger turning to grief. And then, message 15, dated 6 weeks after he'd left. Archer, I'm pregnant. The words hit him like they had in the coffee shop, like they would keep hitting him for the rest of his life. I'm pregnant, and I don't know where you are or why you left, and I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. I know you're not calling back. I know you've moved on. But I thought you should know. I'm pregnant with your baby, and I'm terrified. Her voice broke completely, dissolved into sobs. I needed you, she whispered. I needed you, and you weren't here. You'll never even hear this message, will you? You've already forgotten about me. The message ended. Archer sat in his office chair with tears streaming down his face, listening to the silence that followed. There were 3 more messages after that. He forced himself to listen to all of them. I went to my first ultrasound today. They said everything looks healthy. It's too early to tell if it's a boy or girl, but I saw the heartbeat, Archer. I saw our baby's heartbeat on the screen, and I cried because you should have been there. You should have been holding my hand. Message 17, sent at 11 weeks pregnant. I'm showing now. People are starting to ask questions. I told my mom. She's disappointed but supportive. She asked about you, about the baby's father. I told her you left for work and didn't come back. She called you some names I won't repeat. I defended you at first, but honestly, she might be right. Message 19, sent at 15 weeks. The last message was dated 2 months after he'd left. Sutton's voice was different now. Harder, resolved. I'm not calling anymore after this. I get it, Archer. You made your choice. You chose your career and your new life over us. Over me. Over your child. That's fine. We don't need you. I'll finish medical school. I'll raise this baby alone. I'll be everything they need, and you'll be nothing but a story I tell. Someday about a man who wasn't brave enough to stay. I hope your opportunity in New York gives you everything you thought you needed. I hope it was worth it. Goodbye, Archer. The finality in her voice was devastating. Archer played the message again and again, absorbing the pain he'd caused, the future he'd destroyed, the woman he'd broken. At some point, the sun came up. Archer was still sitting at his desk, staring at his computer screen, when Patricia called at 8. Good morning, Mr. Thorne. The Dubai group is getting impatient. They're threatening to move on to other architects if we don't give them an answer soon. Archer stared out his window at Seattle waking up. Tell them I'm not interested, he said. Silence on the other end of the line. I'm sorry, Mr. Thorne. Did you say you're not interested? That's exactly what I said. But this is a $500 million project. I don't care if it's a $5 billion project. Tell them I'm not interested. Tell them I'm not taking on any new projects that require relocation or extended travel. Mr. Thorne, are you feeling all right? For the first time in 8 years, Archer almost laughed. Was he all right? He'd just discovered he had a 7-year-old daughter he'd never met and that he'd destroyed the only woman he'd ever loved. No, he was not all right. Cancel my meetings for today, Archer said. In fact, cancel everything for the rest of the week. I'm taking personal time. Personal time? Patricia sounded like he'd just announced he was moving to Mars. You never take personal time. Well, I'm taking it now. Delegate anything urgent to James. Everything else can wait. He hung up before she could protest further. Then he pulled up his contacts again and stared at Sutton's number. She hadn't called back. He hadn't expected her to. But he needed to see her again. Needed to talk to her properly, not in an examination room where she could hide behind professional boundaries. A text message felt too informal. Another voicemail felt too cowardly. He needed to see her face to face, to apologize properly, to beg for the chance to know his daughter. But how? He couldn't just show up at her office again. That was her professional space, her territory. And he couldn't show up at her home because he had no idea where she lived. Archer spent the day trying to work and failing. He reviewed contracts without absorbing a single word. He stared at blueprints without seeing them. His CFO called about the quarterly projections, and Archer realized halfway, through the conversation, that he had no idea what the man was saying. I need to call you back, Archer said, and hung up before the CFO could respond. At 4 p.m, his phone rang. Unknown number. Archer answered before the second ring. Hello? Archer. Sutton's voice. Archer's heart stopped. Sutton, thank you for calling back. I wasn't sure you would. I shouldn't have, she said. I should have blocked your number and pretended yesterday never happened. But I can't, because you saw Cora. You know about her now, and we need to talk about that. Yes, we absolutely need to talk. Can I see you? Please? Coffee, or dinner, or I'll come to you. Whatever works, whenever you want. I'll clear my entire schedule. A pause. Then, Pike Street Coffee Shop. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Cora will be at her friend's house for a sleepover. Pike Street, the coffee shop where they used to meet when they were in college. The place where they'd spend hours talking about their dreams and plans and future together. I'll be there, Archer said. Thank you, Sutton. Thank you for giving me this chance. Don't thank me yet, she said, her voice hard. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because you're Cora's father, and she deserves to have answers. When she's old enough to ask real questions about why you were never around. The line went dead. Archer sat with his phone in his hand, heart racing, mind spinning. Tomorrow at 7. 27 hours away. 27 hours to figure out what to say to the woman he destroyed. 27 hours to prepare for a conversation that would determine whether he had any chance at being part of his daughter's life. He spent those 27 hours in a state of controlled panic. He drafted and deleted a dozen speeches. He tried to anticipate every question Sutton might ask, every accusation she might make. He deserved all of it. Every bit of anger, every ounce of hurt. He'd earned her hatred 8 years ago when he'd walked away. By 6 p.m. the next evening, Archer had changed clothes 3 times and still felt like nothing he wore was appropriate. How did you dress for the conversation that would determine the entire rest of your life? He arrived at Pike Street Coffee at 6:45. The shop looked exactly the same as it had a decade ago. Same mismatched furniture, same chipped mugs, same barista who looked like he'd been working there since the 80s. Archer ordered 2 lattes, remembering exactly how Sutton liked hers. Extra foam, cinnamon on top, just sweet enough to balance the bitter. He chose a corner table, the same one they used to claim when they were students, and waited. 7 o'clock came and went. 7:05, 7:10. Archer's coffee grew cold. He started to think she wasn't coming, that this was some kind of punishment, making him wait and hope, and then crushing him with her absence. Then at 7:12, the door opened and Sutton walked in. She'd changed from her work clothes, jeans and a soft gray sweater that brought out her eyes. Her hair was down, falling in waves around her shoulders the way he remembered. She looked younger like this, more like the woman he'd fallen in love with, and less like the professional doctor who'd examined him with clinical detachment. She spotted him immediately and walked over, her expression unreadable. I wasn't sure you'd come, Archer said, standing. I almost didn't. She sat down across from him and looked at the latte he'd ordered for her. Something flickered across her face, surprise maybe, or pain at the fact that he still remembered. Extra foam, cinnamon on top, Archer said quietly. Unless you drink it differently now. No. Sutton picked up the cup, and her hands trembled slightly. I still drink it the same way. They sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop buzzed with conversation around them, students studying, couples on dates, friends catching up, normal people living normal lives, unaware that at this corner table, 2 people were trying to navigate the wreckage of their past. Thank you for meeting me, Archer said finally. Like I said, I'm not doing this for you. I know. You're doing it for Cora. Sutton's eyes flashed. Don't say her name like you know her. You don't know her. You've never known her. You're right. I don't know her. But I want to. If you'll let me. Sutton laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let you? Just like that? You want me to let you waltz into her life after 7 years and play daddy? No, not just like that. I know I have to earn it. I know I have to prove myself. I'm not asking for instant forgiveness or immediate access. I'm asking for a chance to try. Sutton took a sip of her coffee, and Archer watched her process, watched her internal struggle play out across her features. Do you have any idea what it was like? She asked finally. Finding out I was pregnant 2 days after you left? Archer shook his head. Tell me. I took 3 tests because I couldn't believe it, Sutton said, her voice distant with memory. I sat on the bathroom floor of our apartment that you just abandoned, staring at those 3 positive tests. And I was terrified. I was 23, still in pre-med, barely making rent. But I was also happy. So happy. Because we'd talked about having kids someday, remember? We'd planned it. 2 kids, you said. A boy and a girl if we could choose. I remember, Archer whispered. So even though I was scared, I was excited to tell you. I thought you'd come back. I thought whatever job opportunity had pulled you away, you'd come back when you heard you were going to be a father. She set down her coffee cup and met his eyes. But you didn't come back. You didn't answer my calls. Your phone got disconnected. I went to your office, and they said you transferred to New York. Just like that. You vanished. Sutton, I'm so sorry. I listened to your voicemails. All of them. I heard the one where you told me you were pregnant. You listened to them. Her voice rose. You listened to me crying and begging you to call back. And you still didn't respond? I know how it sounds. I know how inexcusable it is. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you chose your career over your pregnant girlfriend and unborn child. It sounds like you're exactly the kind of man I tell Cora her father isn't. What do you tell her? Archer asked. About me? Sutton was quiet for a long moment. I tell her the truth, she said finally. Age-appropriate truth. I tell her that her daddy had to go away for work before she was born. That sometimes adults make difficult choices. That it wasn't her fault. Does she ask about me? Sometimes. More lately. She's at the age where she notices that other kids have dads, and she doesn't. She's asked if her daddy knows about her. If he loves her. If he'll ever come back. What do you say? I say I don't know. Because I didn't know, Archer. I didn't know if you even remembered I existed. I didn't know if you'd moved on, got married, started a whole new family. No. God, no. There's never been anyone else. Not in any way that mattered. Sutton studied his face like she was trying to determine if he was lying. Why? She asked. Why didn't you move on? Why didn't you find someone else if you were so determined to leave me behind? Because you were it for me, Sutton. You were always it. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life, and I've known that since the day I left. But I was too proud and too ashamed to come back. Then, why are you back now? Why show up at my office after 8 years? Archer ran his hands through his hair, exhausted. I didn't know it was your office. The checkup was mandatory, scheduled by my assistant. I had no idea you worked there. I had no idea about Cora. If I'd known, I would have. He stopped because he honestly didn't know what he would have done. You would have, Sutton pressed. Come back sooner? Called? Paid child support? Been a father? I want to say yes. I want to say I would have done all of that. But the truth is, I don't know what 26-year-old me would have done. I was so focused on building my career, so convinced that success was the only thing that mattered. I might have felt trapped. I might have resented you. I might have been a terrible father. Sutton absorbed this. At least you're honest about it, she said. But I'm not 26 anymore, Archer continued. I'm 34. I've built the career. I've made the money. I've achieved everything I thought I wanted. And it's all meaningless, Sutton. Every dollar, every building, every accolade. It's all completely meaningless without you and Cora. Pretty words, Sutton said. But words are easy. Actions are what matter. You're right. So let me prove it. Let me show you I've changed. How? I don't know yet. But I'll figure it out. I'll do whatever it takes. Sutton stared at him for a long moment. I was in labor for 22 hours, she said suddenly. 22 hours of contractions and pain and fear. My mom flew in from Portland, but she didn't get there until hour 15. So I was alone for most of it. The nurses were kind, but they weren't you. Every time a contraction hit, I thought about how you should have been there. How you should have been holding my hand and telling me I could do it. Archer felt tears prick his eyes. I should have been there. When Cora was born, when they put her on my chest, she looked up at me with these eyes. Your eyes. And I cried. I cried because she was perfect, and I loved her instantly, but also because I was mourning what you'd never have with her. Tell me about her, Archer said. Please, tell me everything. Sutton took a shaky breath. She's brilliant. Like genuinely brilliant. She taught herself to read at 4. She builds these incredible models, combines engineering and medical concepts in ways I wouldn't have thought of. Her teachers say she's gifted. She gets that from you, Archer said. The building, the spatial reasoning, and the medical interest from me. Sutton almost smiled. She wants to design hospitals that can heal people better, buildings that make medicine more effective. Archer thought of his own passion for architecture and Sutton's love of cardiology. Their daughter had somehow inherited both. What else? He asked. She's kind. She notices when people are hurting and tries to fix it. Last month, a kid in her class was being bullied, and Cora organized the other kids to include him. She's got this huge heart. Like her mother, she's stubborn. When she sets her mind to something, there's no stopping her. Also like her mother. This time Sutton did smile, just a little. She loves building things with her hands. Legos, cardboard, whatever she can find. She fills our apartment with these elaborate constructions. I'm constantly tripping over her projects. I want to see them, Archer said. I want to see her room and her projects and everything she's built. I want to know her favorite color and her favorite food and what makes her laugh. Sutton's smile faded. That's a lot to ask. I know. She's been through enough, Archer. I won't let her get hurt. I won't let her get attached to you only to have you disappear again. I won't disappear. You don't know that. What happens when your company demands more time? When the next big project comes along? When being a part-time father stops being novel and starts being inconvenient? Archer pulled out his phone and opened his email. He showed Sutton the exchange with his assistant about the Dubai project. $500 million, he said. 3-year contract. Legacy, defining work. I turned it down. Sutton read the emails, her expression unreadable. Why? Because it would have taken me away from here. From Seattle. From any chance of being part of Cora's life. From any chance of earning your forgiveness. You turned down $500 million. I'd turn down $5 billion if it meant I could be Cora's father. Sutton handed the phone back. That's a grand gesture, Archer. But parenting isn't grand gestures. It's showing up for soccer practice when you're exhausted. It's helping with homework on fractions when you'd rather be doing anything else. It's staying home with a sick kid instead of going to that important meeting. Can you do that? I want to learn. That's not an answer. It's the only honest answer I have. I've never been a parent. I don't know if I'll be good at it. But I want to try. I want to be there for her in all the ways I should have been from the beginning. Sutton was quiet for so long that Archer thought the conversation was over. Then she pulled out her phone. This is what you missed, she said, scrolling through photos. This is Cora, 2 weeks old. This is her first birthday. This is her first day of kindergarten. This is the science fair where she won first place last year. This is her soccer team photo. This is last Christmas morning. She showed him each photo, and Archer felt each one like a knife to his chest. 7 years of memories he should have been part of. 7 years of his daughter growing up without him. She looks so much like you, Sutton said softly, stopping on a photo of Cora grinning at the camera. Same eyes, same smile, same dimple in her left cheek. She has your hair, your bone structure. She asks about you more than I've told you. She wants to know if her daddy thinks about her. If he would have liked her. If she would have made him proud. Archer's voice broke. I think about her every day. I would have loved her beyond measure. She makes me proud already, and I barely know her. Then prove it, Sutton said. Not with words, not with money, with action, with consistency, with showing up day after day even when it's hard. How do I start? Sutton closed her eyes, and when she opened them, Archer saw the decision she'd made. Roosevelt Elementary, Saturday at 2 p.m. There's a science fair. Cora's presenting a project on sustainable architecture and environmental health. If you want to meet your daughter properly, be there. I'll be there. On time, Archer. Not fashionably late. Not when the meeting runs over, 2 p.m. sharp. I'll be there at 1:45. And Archer, this isn't an invitation to suddenly be her father. This is a chance to meet her as a person. To see who she is. She doesn't know you're her dad. We're not telling her yet. You're just someone who came to see the science fair. I understand. If you hurt her, if you disappoint her, if you make promises you don't keep, this ends. I will protect my daughter above everything else, as you should. Sutton stood to leave, then paused. I loved you, she said quietly. I loved you so much, it nearly destroyed me when you left. It took me years to put myself back together. Years to trust myself again. I won't go through that again, and I sure as hell won't let Cora go through it. I know, and I'm going to spend every day proving I've changed. Proving you can trust me. We'll see. She walked out of the coffee shop, leaving Archer alone with cold coffee, and the first fragile thread of hope he'd felt in 8 years. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. Archer spent the days between the coffee shop meeting and the science fair in a state of controlled anxiety. He researched sustainable architecture and environmental health so he could understand Cora's project. He bought a professional quality drafting kit as a gift, then worried it was too much, then decided it was perfect because it showed he understood her interests. He changed his outfit 4 times on Saturday morning. Business casual felt too formal. Jeans felt too casual. He settled on dark jeans and a navy sweater. Then changed again. Then changed back. By 1 p.m., he was ready to leave. The science fair didn't start until 2, and the elementary school was only 20 minutes away, but Archer couldn't sit still in his penthouse anymore. He arrived at Roosevelt Elementary at 1:35. The parking lot was already filling with families. Fathers holding daughters' hands. Mothers carrying poster boards. Siblings running ahead excitedly. Normal families doing normal things on a Saturday afternoon. Archer had never felt more like an outsider in his life. He walked into the gymnasium at 1:50, and his heart immediately started racing. The space was filled with display tables, each one showcasing a different student project. Parents wandered from table to table, admiring their children's work. Teachers circulated with clipboards, ready to judge. And there, at table 17, stood his daughter. Cora wore a blue dress with those same solar panels printed on it. Her auburn hair was in 2 French braids that Archer knew Sutton must have done that morning. She was arranging her project display with intense concentration, moving poster, boards a fraction of an inch, adjusting the placement of her scale model. Archer couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at this brilliant little person who was half him and half Sutton and entirely her own person. Then Sutton appeared from somewhere in the crowd, carrying 2 bottles of water. She handed one to Cora, said something that made Cora laugh, then turned and spotted Archer standing frozen by the door. Their eyes met across the crowded gymnasium. Sutton's expression was carefully neutral, but Archer saw the wariness there. The protective mama bear ready to remove him bodily if he did anything to hurt her cub. He walked over slowly, trying not to look as terrified as he felt. "You came," Sutton said quietly. "I said I would." "You're early. I didn't want to be late." Cora looked up from her project, and her face lit up with recognition. "You're the man from Mommy's office." The one who looked surprised. Archer's chest tightened. He managed to smile. "That's me. Though I'm feeling much better now thanks to your mom. Did she fix your heart?" The innocent question hit Archer with unexpected force. "She's working on it," he said, glancing at Sutton. "It might take a while." Cora nodded seriously. "Hearts are complicated. They have 4 chambers and lots of valves, and if even one thing is wrong, the whole system doesn't work right. You know a lot about hearts. Mommy teaches me. She's a heart doctor, so we talk about hearts all the time." Cora gestured to her project. "That's why I made this. Want to see?" "I'd love to." For the next hour, Archer fell completely in love with his daughter's mind. Her project was extraordinary. She'd built a scale model hospital with solar panels, green roofs, rainwater, collection systems, and gardens integrated into every floor. But it wasn't just about environmental sustainability. Cora had researched how natural light affects patient recovery, how green spaces reduce stress, how air quality impacts healing. See, most hospitals are designed for efficiency, Cora explained to Archer and the gathering crowd of impressed parents. But what if we designed them for healing? What if the building itself helped make people better? "That's revolutionary thinking," Archer said, genuinely awed. "Do you really think so?" Cora asked, her eyes, his eyes, bright with hope. "I know so. I'm an architect, and I've never seen anyone combine environmental design with medical outcomes like this. You're going to change the world someday, Cora." She beamed at him, and Archer felt his heart crack wide open. The judges came by, and Archer watched Cora present her project with confidence and enthusiasm. She fielded their questions like a professional, explaining load-bearing, structures and photosynthesis and cardiac recovery rates with equal ease. "Where did you learn about architecture?" one of the judges asked. "From books mostly," Cora said, "and I watch documentaries, but I've never met a real architect before today." She looked at Archer, and he saw the yearning there, the desire to learn, to grow, to understand. "If you ever have questions about building design," Archer heard himself say, "I'd be happy to help." "Really?" Cora's whole face lit up. "Because I have so many questions. Like, how do you calculate wind load on a tall building? And how do you make sure foundations are strong enough for earthquakes? And how do you integrate modern technology into historic buildings without ruining the original design?" Archer laughed. Delighted. Those are all excellent questions, and they all have complicated answers. Maybe we could talk about them sometime? He glanced at Sutton for permission. She was watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. We'll see, Sutton said carefully. The judges moved on to the next project, and Cora bounced excitedly. Did I do okay? Was I good enough? You were perfect, Sutton said, kneeling down to hug her. I'm so proud of you, baby. The judges are announcing winners in 20 minutes, Cora said. Do you think I have a chance? I think you have more than a chance, Archer said. I think your project is the best one here. When the judges called Cora's name for first place in her grade, she didn't run to Sutton first. She ran to Archer, threw her arms around his waist, and hugged him so tight he thought his heart might burst. I won! Did you see? I actually won. I saw, Archer managed, his arms coming around his daughter. He met Sutton's eyes over Cora's head, and saw her own eyes were wet. I'm so proud of you, Cora. After the award ceremony, as parents started gathering their kids to leave, Cora turned to Archer with hopeful eyes. Can you come get ice cream with us? Please? I want to show you all my other project ideas. Archer looked at Sutton. If your mom says it's okay. Sutton hesitated, and Archer saw her internal struggle. Then she nodded slowly. Ice cream sounds good. The three of them walked to Cora's favorite ice cream shop, 3 blocks from the school. Cora chattered the entire way, bouncing between them, her blue ribbon pinned proudly to her dress. At the shop, she ordered cookies and cream and a waffle cone. Sutton got vanilla. Archer got chocolate, which made Cora wrinkle her nose. Chocolate ice cream is boring, she pronounced. What? Chocolate is a classic. Cookies and cream is way better. It has texture. You can't argue with her logic, Sutton said, and Archer heard the faint hint of amusement in her voice. They sat in a booth, Cora between Archer and Sutton, and for 20 perfect minutes, Archer got to pretend they were a real family. Cora showed him sketches of her next project, a series of small, sustainable houses for homeless families. Archer offered suggestions on structural design. Sutton added ideas about medical clinics integrated into the community, and for those 20 minutes, Archer felt more successful than he'd ever felt closing a business deal. Eventually, Sutton checked her watch. We should head home, sweetheart. You have homework to finish before your friend's house tonight. Cora's face fell. Already. Say goodbye to Archer. Goodbye, Archer, Cora said dutifully. Then, more hopefully, will I see you again? Archer's eyes met Sutton's. He saw the warning there. Don't make promises you can't keep. I hope so, Archer said carefully. If your mom says it's okay, can he come over sometime, Mommy? Please. I want to show him my other projects and my room and my Lego city. We'll see, baby. Come on, let's go. As they stood to leave, Cora surprised Archer by hugging him again. Thank you for coming to my science fair, she whispered. It made me really happy. Archer hugged her back, this small person who was his daughter, and felt tears threaten. It made me really happy, too. He watched them walk away, Cora's small hand in Sutton's, and for the first time in 8 years, Archer Thorne understood what he'd been building toward his entire life. Not skyscrapers, not wealth, not professional legacy. This connection, this love, this family, and he would do whatever it took, sacrifice whatever was necessary, prove himself however many times required, to earn the right to be part of it. His phone buzzed, a message from his assistant. The Dubai Group is making one final push. $1 billion over 3 years. They need an answer Monday. Archer stared at the message, thought about Cora's hug and Sutton's careful hope, and the ice cream shop conversation, and knew exactly what his answer would be. Some opportunities only came once. Some choices defined your entire life. 8 years ago he'd chosen wrong. This time, he was choosing right. Monday morning arrived with the weight of destiny on Archer's shoulders. He sat in his corner office, 42nd floor, view of Elliott Bay spread before him like a promise he'd once believed in. His phone sat on the desk in front of him. 9:55 a.m. In 5 minutes, the Dubai Group would call for his final answer. $1 billion over 3 years. 50 buildings that would reshape the skyline of one of the world's fastest-growing cities. His name in architectural history books. Everything he'd worked towards since he was 22 and dreaming of changing the world one building at a time. His office door opened. Patricia walked in, carrying her tablet and wearing her efficient assistant expression. The Dubai Group is on line 1, Mr. Thorne. And your CFO wants to sit in on the call to discuss contract terms. Tell James he won't be needed, Archer said. This will be a short call. Patricia's eyebrows rose slightly, but she nodded and left. Archer stared at the blinking light on his phone for another 30 seconds. Then he picked up. Mr. Khalid, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Mr. Thorne. The voice on the other end was smooth, confident. We are very excited to move forward. Our legal team has prepared the contracts. We can have them to you by end of day. I appreciate the opportunity, Archer said. Truly, what you're proposing is incredible. Legacy-defining work. But I'm going to have to decline. Silence on the other end. Then I'm sorry, did you say decline? I did. I'm honored by your offer, but I can't accept a project that would require me to relocate or travel extensively. My priorities have changed. Mr. Thorne, we are offering you $1 billion. More than that, we are offering you the chance to build something that will outlast both of us. Architecture that will define a city for generations. Surely we can find an arrangement that works for your schedule. It's not about the schedule, Archer said. It's about being present. And I can't be present for what matters most if I'm on the other side of the world. What matters most? Mr. Khalid's tone had shifted to confusion. Mr. Thorne, your reputation suggests you are a man who understands that some opportunities only come once. You're absolutely right, Archer said. And this is one of those opportunities. The opportunity to be a father to my daughter. The opportunity to rebuild trust with the woman I love. Those opportunities only come once, and I already wasted them 8 years ago. I'm not making that mistake again. Another pause. You are turning down $1 billion for personal reasons. I'm choosing my family over my career. Yes, I see. Mr. Khalid sounded genuinely baffled. We will move on to other architects then. Thank you for your time, Mr. Thorne. The line went dead. Archer set down the phone and waited to feel regret. Waited for the panic to set in. Waited for the voice in his head that had driven him for 8 years to start screaming that he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. But all he felt was relief and certainty and the bone-deep knowledge that he'd finally made the right choice. His office door burst open. James, his CFO, stood there with Patricia behind him, looking apologetic. Did you just turn down the Dubai project? James demanded. I did. Have you lost your mind? That was $1 billion contract. I know what it was. Then why? James sputtered. Why would you possibly turn that down? Because I have a 7-year-old daughter I've never been a father to, Archer said calmly. Because I have a chance to fix the worst mistake of my life. Because money and buildings and legacy mean nothing if you have no one to share them with. James stared at him like he'd started speaking another language. You have a daughter? I do. Her name is Cora. She's brilliant and kind, and she wants to design hospitals that heal people. And yesterday at her science fair, she hugged me like I mattered, like I was important, and that felt better than any business deal I've ever closed. I didn't even know you were seeing anyone. I'm not yet. I'm trying to earn back the trust of the woman I walked away from 8 years ago, the woman who raised our daughter alone while I was busy building an empire that turns out to be worth absolutely nothing without them. James sat down heavily in the chair across from Archer's desk. Okay, he said slowly. Okay, this is a lot to process. But Archer, you can't blow up your entire career for personal drama. It's not drama, Archer said. It's my life, my real life. And I've been avoiding it for 8 years because I was too scared and too proud to face what I'd done. What about the company? What about the investors? What about the projects we have in development? The company will be fine. I'm not abandoning my responsibilities. I'm just not taking on new commitments that would require me to be absent. I'm restructuring my priorities. To what? To being present. To showing up. To proving that I can be the man my daughter deserves and the partner Sutton needs. James rubbed his face with both hands. Who's Sutton? The woman I loved. The woman I love. The mother of my child. Does she know you turned down $1 billion for her? Not yet. Are you planning to tell her? Yes, but not as some grand romantic gesture. I'm telling her because I want her to understand that I'm serious about this, about choosing them, about being consistent and present and not disappearing when things get complicated. James looked at Archer for a long moment. You really love her. More than I knew it was possible to love someone. And the kid? Your daughter? Cora. Her name is Cora. And yes, I love her too, even though I barely know her. I love her because she's half Sutton and half me and entirely herself. I love her because when she talks about her projects, her eyes light up the same way mine do when I'm designing. I love her because she deserves a father who chooses her every single day. James stood up. Okay then. I'll handle the Dubai situation. I'll draft a statement for the board. And Archer, I hope it works out. I hope she's worth it. She is. They both are. After James left, Archer sat alone in his office and pulled out his phone. He texted Sutton, "Can we talk? I have something I need to tell you." The response came 20 minutes later. "I'm at the hospital until 8. After that, I'll bring dinner. Your place?" Another pause. Then, "Fine. But Cora will be there. Keep it appropriate. Understood." Archer spent the rest of the day in a state of nervous energy. He worked through his emails, delegated projects to his team, restructured his schedule to minimize travel. At 6, he left the office, something he hadn't done before 8 p.m. in years. He stopped at Sutton's favorite Thai restaurant, the one they used to order from when they were in college and broke, ordered pad Thai and green curry and spring rolls. Then he drove to the address Sutton had texted him, his heart pounding the entire way. She lived in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that was nice but not fancy. The building was well maintained but clearly not luxury. Archer thought of his penthouse with its designer furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows and felt ashamed. While he'd been living in expensive isolation, Sutton had been here, raising their daughter, making a home. He knocked on the door at 8:05. Footsteps inside, then the door swung open. Cora stood there in pajamas covered in tiny dinosaurs, her hair damp from a recent bath. "Archer, you're here. Mommy said you were bringing dinner. I brought Thai food. I hope you like it. I love Thai food. Come in, come in. I want to show you my Lego city." She grabbed his hand and pulled him inside. The apartment was small but warm, filled with evidence of their life together. Cora's artwork on the fridge, photos on the walls, a bookshelf overflowing with medical textbooks and children's books side by side, a couch that had seen better days but was covered in soft throws and pillows. It felt more like home than anywhere Archer had lived in 8 years. "Cora, let Archer put down the food first," Sutton called from the kitchen. She emerged wiping her hands on a dish towel, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, looking absolutely beautiful. "Hi," Archer said, suddenly nervous. "Hi. Thanks for bringing dinner. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to." They stood in the small entryway, the air thick with everything unsaid, until Cora tugged on Archer's hand again. "Come on. The Lego city is in my room and it's amazing. I've been working on it for 6 months." "Go ahead," Sutton said. "I'll set the table. But Cora, 15 minutes, then dinner." "Okay, Mommy." Cora's room was exactly what Archer would have expected. Chaos organized by a brilliant mind. Her bed was covered in a quilt with the periodic table on it. Her walls were plastered with posters of the human body, famous buildings, and the solar system. Her desk was covered in projects in various stages of completion. And in the center of the floor was an elaborate Lego city. "This is the hospital district," Cora explained, pointing to a section of buildings. "See, I designed them, so they all have gardens on the roof and solar panels, and they're connected by these bridges so doctors can move between buildings without going outside." Archer knelt down to examine her work more closely. The detail was incredible. She thought about traffic flow, emergency access, patient privacy. "This is professional-level work, Cora. Have you thought about entering this in competitions? There are competitions for Lego cities. There are competitions for everything when you're this talented." Cora beamed at him, and Archer felt his heart expand in his chest. They spent the next 15 minutes talking about her city, her plans for expansion, her ideas for future projects. Archer offered suggestions like he would with any client, and Cora listened, seriously, sometimes agreeing, sometimes explaining why her way was better. She was brilliant, and stubborn, and creative, and everything Archer could have hoped for in a daughter he'd never known he had. "Dinner," Sutton called. They ate at the small kitchen table, the 3 of them barely fitting. Cora chattered between bites about her science fair win, about the kids at school, about her friend's birthday party next weekend. "And you're presenting your project at the district competition next month, right?" Sutton reminded her. Oh yeah. Cora turned to Archer. It's a big deal. All the elementary schools compete, and the winner gets to go to state. Do you think you could come watch? Archer glanced at Sutton, who was very carefully not looking at him. If your mom says it's okay, I'd love to be there. Please, Mommy? Cora begged. We'll see, baby. Finish your dinner. After dinner, Cora was sent to brush her teeth and get ready for bed. Archer helped Sutton clear the dishes, the two of them moving around the small kitchen in careful choreography. You were good with her tonight, Sutton said quietly. She makes it easy. She's incredible, Sutton. I know. You did that. You raised her to be curious and kind and confident, all by yourself. Sutton rinsed a plate and handed it to Archer to dry. I didn't have a choice. You did. You could have given her up. You could have called me and demanded I help. You could have done 100 things. But you chose to keep her and raise her and love her. That took courage I can't even imagine. It took necessity. She needed a parent. I was the only one available. Before Archer could respond, Cora appeared in the doorway. Mommy, will you read me a story? Of course, baby. Go pick out a book. Cora scampered off. Sutton dried her hands and turned to Archer. You said you had something to tell me? I do, but it can wait until after bedtime. Okay, you can wait in the living room if you want. This usually takes about 20 minutes. Actually, Archer said, his heart pounding. Could I read to her? If you're both okay with that? Sutton stared at him. You want to read her bedtime story? I want to start being part of her routine. If you'll let me. Sutton's eyes went glassy with tears she refused to let fall. Cora, she called, come here for a second. Cora appeared again, clutching a book about space exploration. Would you like Archer to read you your story tonight? Cora's face lit up. Really? You'd do that? I'd be honored, Archer said. Okay, come on. My room is this way. She grabbed Archer's hand and pulled him down the short hallway. Her bedroom was already dim, nightlight glowing softly in the corner. Cora climbed into bed and patted the space beside her. You sit here. Mommy always sits here. Archer sat carefully on the edge of the small bed. Cora handed him the book and snuggled under her covers, her stuffed elephant tucked under one arm. Sutton appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching. Archer opened the book and began to read. Chapter 1. The Girl Who Wanted to Touch the Stars. His voice was quiet in the soft light of the room. Cora listened intently, occasionally interrupting with questions about orbital mechanics or rocket fuel. Archer answered each one patiently, impressed by the depth of her knowledge. By Chapter 3, her eyes were drooping. By the end of Chapter 4, she was asleep, her breathing deep and even. Archer sat very still, looking down at his sleeping daughter. She had one hand curled under her cheek, the other still holding her elephant. In sleep, she looked even younger than 7, vulnerable and precious and his. He stood carefully, not wanting to wake her. Sutton moved aside to let him out of the room, then went in to kiss Cora's forehead and adjust her blankets. When she came out, she pulled the door mostly closed. Thank you, she whispered, for reading to her. Thank you for letting me. They stood in the hallway for a moment, both of them aware of the significance of what had just happened. Archer reading bedtime stories. Part of the routine. Part of the family. Living room, Sutton said finally. We should talk. They settled on opposite ends of the couch, careful distance between them. Sutton curled into the corner, her feet tucked under her. Archer sat forward, elbows on his knees. You said you had something to tell me, Sutton prompted. I turned down the Dubai project. Sutton blinked. What? This morning, they called for my final answer. I told them no. Archer, that was $1 billion. I know what it was. Then why? Because I meant what I said at the coffee shop. Nothing is worth losing you and Cora again. Not money, not prestige, not professional legacy. Nothing. You turned it down without even discussing it with me first. I didn't need to discuss it. This isn't about you giving me permission. This is about me making a choice. Choosing you. Choosing Cora. Choosing to be present. Sutton pulled a throw pillow into her lap and hugged it. That's terrifying, she said quietly. Why? Because it's too big. It's too much. You're putting all this pressure on us to be worth $1 billion, and Archer, we're not. We're just people. We're just a single mom and a 7-year-old girl trying to make it work. You're not just anything, Archer said. You're everything. You're the only thing that's ever mattered. You didn't think that 8 years ago. The truth landed between them like a stone in still water. No, Archer admitted. 8 years ago, I thought success mattered. I thought money and career and achievement would make me happy. I was wrong, and I've spent 8 years learning exactly how wrong I was. So now you've figured it out, and you want to swoop in and play hero. No, I want to be part of your lives. I want to earn the right to be Cora's father. I want to prove to you that I've changed. People don't change, Archer. Yes, they do. When the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change, people absolutely change. Sutton was quiet for a long time, absently running her fingers over the edge of the pillow. What do you want from me? She asked finally. Honestly, everything. I want to be part of Cora's life. I want to pick her up from school and help with homework and attend science fairs and read bedtime stories. I want to be there when she's sick and celebrate when she wins awards and teach her everything I know about architecture. And what do you want from me? Archer's voice dropped. A second chance. A real one. I want to earn back your trust. I want to prove that I'm not the scared 26-year-old who ran away. I want to show you that I can be the partner you deserve. I don't know if I can trust you again. I know. That's why I'm asking for the chance to prove it, not with words, with actions, day after day, week after week, for as long as it takes. And what happens when it gets hard? When Cora has a meltdown because you set a boundary she doesn't like? When I'm exhausted from a 30-hour shift and not pleasant to be around? When the reality of daily life stops being new and starts being ordinary? Then I stay anyway, Archer said, because that's what family does. They stay when it's hard. They show up when it's boring. They choose each other even when it's not easy. Sutton wiped her eyes. I need you to understand something. Cora is my priority, above everything else, above you, above me, above any potential relationship we might have. If being involved with you hurts her in any way, this ends. As it should. She should be your priority. She should be both our priorities. Okay. Sutton took a shaky breath. Okay. Here's what I'm willing to do. You can start spending time with Cora, supervised at first. Science fair was good. Dinner tonight was good. We can do more of that. Thank you. But we're not telling her you're her father yet. Not until I'm sure you're going to stick around. I won't let her get attached to the idea of having a dad only to have you disappear. I understand. What do I need to do to prove I'm staying? Time. Consistency. Show up when you say you will. Don't make promises you can't keep. Be present even when it's inconvenient. I can do that. We'll see. And us? Archer asked carefully. Is there any chance for us? Sutton looked at him, really looked at him, and Archer saw the war in her eyes. The part of her that had never stopped loving him fighting against the part that remembered being destroyed. I don't know, she said honestly. Ask me again in 6 months. Ask me after you've proven you can be consistent with Cora. Ask me when I'm not terrified that you're going to break both our hearts. 6 months, Archer repeated. I can do 6 months. Don't make it sound like a prison sentence. If you're only doing this to win me back, don't bother. Cora deserves better than a father who's using her to get to her mother. That's not what I'm doing. Good. Because I'll know. I'll see it. And I'll end this before it goes any further. Understood. Archer stood to leave. Sutton walked him to the door. Thank you, he said, for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, Sutton agreed. But Cora deserves a father, and I'm hoping you can become the man she needs. I will. I promise. Don't promise. Just do. After Archer left, Sutton stood with her back against the closed door and let herself cry. Not the devastated sobs of 8 years ago. Just quiet tears of confusion and hope and terror all mixed together. She'd meant what she'd said. Cora came first. Always. But watching Archer read bedtime stories to their daughter, seeing the genuine love and wonder on his face, Sutton had felt something dangerous. Something like hope. And hope was terrifying when you'd been broken before. The next 6 months unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. Archer showed up exactly when he said he would. Tuesday afternoons he picked Cora up from school and took her for hot chocolate and helped with homework. Thursday evenings, he came for dinner. Every other Saturday, they worked on projects together. He never canceled, never rescheduled, never put work first. His assistant learned quickly that Tuesdays and Thursdays were blocked out permanently. Board meetings got scheduled around Cora's science fair. Client dinners got declined if they conflicted with family time. It should have been easy to fall into the routine. But for someone who'd spent 8 years prioritizing work above everything else, choosing presence over profit was a daily battle. Like the Tuesday in October, when a major investor called during Cora's soccer practice. "Mr. Thorne, we need you at the meeting in San Francisco tomorrow. The deal is falling apart, and only you can fix it." Archer watched Cora score a goal and pump her fist in victory. "Send James. He has full authority to negotiate. But Mr. Thorne, they specifically asked for you. Then they'll have to wait until next week when I'm available. I have commitments here that I can't break. This could cost us the account. Then it costs us the account. I'm not breaking a promise to my daughter." He hung up and cheered as Cora's team celebrated their goal. She looked over at him and waved, her smile bright enough to outshine the sun. And Archer knew he'd made the right choice. Or the time in November when Cora came down with the flu. Sutton was in the middle of a complicated surgery that would take hours. Cora's school called Archer because he was now listed as an emergency contact. "Mr. Thorne, Cora has a fever of 102. She needs to be picked up. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He left a meeting with his CFO mid-sentence, drove to the school, and carried a miserable Cora to his car. "I want my mommy," she whimpered. "I know, sweetheart. Mommy's in surgery, but she'll be done in a few hours. Is it okay if I take care of you until then?" Cora nodded miserably, too sick to protest. Archer took her back to Sutton's apartment, using the key Sutton had given him for emergencies. He tucked Cora into bed, gave her medicine, and read to her while she dozed. When she woke up crying from a fever dream, Archer held her and rubbed her back and sang old lullabies he half remembered from his own childhood. When Sutton finally came home at 8 p.m., exhausted from surgery, she found them asleep on Cora's bed. Archer sitting up against the headboard, Cora curled against his chest, his arm around her protectively. Sutton stood in the doorway and cried quietly, because this was what she'd wanted 8 years ago. This was the partner she'd needed, the father Cora deserved, and he was finally here. In December, Cora's class had a parent-child build-off where families worked together to construct something meaningful. Cora had been talking about it for weeks. The day before the event, Sutton pulled Archer aside. "She's going to ask you to be her partner tomorrow," Sutton said quietly. "All the other kids are partnering with their dads. What do you want me to say?" "I want you to say yes. But Archer, if you say yes, you're making a commitment. You're telling her you're someone she can count on. You can't take that back, I know. Do you? Because once we cross this line, once you become a real presence in her life, there's no going back. If you leave after this, it will destroy her. I'm not leaving. Not ever. I promise." So the next day, when Cora nervously asked if Archer would be her partner, he said yes without hesitation. They built a model of the hospital Cora had designed for the science. Fair, but this time with Archer's professional expertise guiding her. They worked side by side for 3 hours, and Cora called him Dad twice. Both times by accident. Both times she looked panicked, like she'd done something wrong. Both times Archer's heart nearly burst. After Christmas, Sutton and Archer were cleaning up from dinner while Cora worked on homework in her room. Sutton was washing dishes. Archer was drying. The routine had become comfortable. "She calls you Dad sometimes," Sutton said quietly. "I know. We should probably talk to her. Tell her the truth." Archer's hands stilled on the plate he was drying. "Are you sure?" "She's asking more questions. About why you're always around. About where her real dad is. I think she's already figured it out, honestly. Kids are perceptive. When do you want to tell her?" "This weekend. Saturday morning. We'll sit her down together and explain everything." The panic that flooded Archer's chest was immediate and overwhelming. What if she hates me? What if she's angry that I wasn't there before? Then we deal with it. "But Archer, she loves you. You've proven yourself. You've been consistent and present and everything she needed. I think she'll understand." Saturday arrived with crisp winter sunshine, and Archer's nerves stretched to breaking point. He showed up at Sutton's apartment at 9 as planned. Cora was still in her pajamas, eating cereal and watching cartoons. "Morning, sweetheart," Sutton said. "Can you turn off the TV? We need to talk to you about something important." Cora's eyes went wide with the kind of fear only children have when adults say they need to talk. "Am I in trouble?" "No, baby. Nothing like that. Come sit with us. They settled on the couch, Cora between them, looking worried. Sweetheart, Sutton started, you know how you've been asking more questions about your father lately? Cora nodded slowly. Well, there's something we need to tell you. Something important. Okay. Sutton glanced at Archer, who felt like his heart might pound out of his chest. Then she looked back at Cora. Your father, your real father, has actually been in your life for a few months now. You know him very well. Cora's brow furrowed in confusion. Then her eyes went wide. She looked at Archer. Is it you? It's me, Archer whispered. I'm your father, Cora. Silence. Cora stared at him with those ocean storm eyes, his eyes, processing. You're my dad? I am. Where were you before? Archer took a shaky breath. That's a complicated question with an honest answer. Would you like to hear the whole truth? Cora nodded seriously. Before you were born, your mom and I were together. We loved each other very much, but I made a terrible mistake. I got a job opportunity in another city and I left without talking to your mom about it first. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. I left before your mom could tell me she was pregnant with you. You left, Mommy? I did. And it was the worst mistake of my life. Mommy cried a lot when I was little, Cora said matter-of-factly. She thought I was asleep, but I heard her sometimes. Was she crying because of you? Yes, Archer said, his own voice breaking. She was crying because I hurt her very badly when I left. Cora absorbed this, her small face serious. Why didn't you come back? I didn't know you existed. Your mom tried to tell me, but I wasn't answering her calls. I was so focused on my work that I ignored the most important person in my life. By the time I realized my mistake, years had passed, and I was too scared and too ashamed to come back. But you came back now. I did. I came back because I walked into a doctor's office and saw your mom for the first time in 8 years. And I saw you, and the moment I saw your eyes, I knew you were my daughter. And I knew I had to try to be part of your life if you and your mom would let me. Is that why you've been coming around? Because you're my dad? I've been coming around because I want to know you. I want to be your father, if you'll let me. But Cora, I need you to understand something important. I wasn't there when you were born. I wasn't there for your first steps or your first words or any of the important moments of your life. I don't deserve to be called your dad, but I'm asking if you'll give me the chance to earn it. Cora was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I already call you Dad sometimes. I try not to because I thought it would make Mommy sad, but it slips out. You call me Dad? Yeah. In my head mostly. Sometimes out loud by accident. How do you feel about that? About me being your dad? Cora thought about it seriously. I used to imagine what my dad would be like. I thought maybe he was a doctor like Mommy or an astronaut or something cool. And then you showed up and you know about buildings and you helped me with my projects. And you read to me and you came to my soccer game even when it was raining. So I think maybe you're better than what I imagined. Archer felt tears streaming down his face. Better than what you imagined? Yeah, because you're real, and you're here, and you seem like you really want to be here. I do want to be here, more than anything in the world. Cora turned to Sutton. Is it okay if he's my dad? Like officially? Sutton was crying too. Of course it's okay, baby. That's why we're telling you. Cora looked back at Archer. Can I call you Dad? Like out loud? All the time? I would be so honored, Archer managed. Okay. Dad. The word, spoken intentionally, directly to him, broke something open in Archer's chest. He pulled Cora into a hug and held on tight while she wrapped her small arms around his neck. I love you, Cora. I love you so much. I love you too, Dad. Over Cora's head, Archer met Sutton's eyes. She was crying and smiling at the same time, and Archer felt something he hadn't felt in 8 years. Complete. The months after telling Cora the truth were an adjustment for everyone. Cora had questions, lots of questions. Why did you leave? Did you not want me? Are you going to leave again? What if you get another job somewhere else? Archer answered every question honestly, age-appropriately, patiently. And with each question answered, he felt Cora's trust in him solidify. He started keeping clothes at Sutton's apartment. A drawer in the bathroom. Space in the closet. Not because he was living there, but because he was there so often it made sense. He attended parent-teacher conferences, helped with school projects. Learned to braid Cora's hair after watching 3 YouTube tutorials. Figured out how to make her favorite grilled cheese with the crusts cut off just right. And slowly, carefully, he and Sutton started to rebuild something too. It started small. Hands brushing when they both reached for something. Eyes meeting across the room when Cora said something funny. Sitting closer together on the couch during movie nights. One evening in March, after Cora was asleep, Sutton and Archer sat on her small balcony watching the Seattle lights. 6 months, Sutton said quietly. What? It's been 6 months since the science fair. 6 months since I told you to ask me again in 6 months about us. Archer's heart started racing. So it has. You've been good with her. Better than good. You've been exactly what she needed. I'm trying. You're succeeding. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. I'm still scared, Sutton admitted. Scared of trusting you. Scared of what happens if this doesn't work out. Scared that I'm falling in love with you again and you'll break my heart. Archer reached over and took her hand. I can't promise I'll never make mistakes. I can't promise everything will be perfect, but I can promise that I will choose you and Cora every single day, in every decision, for the rest of my life. That's a big promise. It's the only promise that matters. Sutton looked at their joined hands. My lease is up in 2 months. I've been thinking about looking for a bigger place. Cora's getting older. She needs more space. I have space, Archer said carefully. In your penthouse? That's not exactly kid-friendly. So I'll sell it and we'll find something together. Something that feels like home for all 3 of us. You'd sell your penthouse? Sutton, I'd sell everything I own if it meant waking up next to you every morning and being there for Cora every day. Buildings and furniture and expensive views mean nothing compared to you both. Sutton turned to face him fully. I'm terrified, she said again. Me too. But I think I want to try. Really try. Not just co-parenting. Not just being friendly for Cora's sake. I want to try being us again. Archer cupped her face gently with his free hand. Are you sure? No. But I'm willing to find out. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like he was afraid she'd disappear. She kissed him back, and it felt like coming home after a journey that had lasted 8 years too long. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying. We're doing this, Sutton said. We're doing this, but slow, for Cora's sake. And mine, as slow as you need. They found a house 3 weeks later, not a mansion, not a penthouse, just a comfortable 4-bedroom in a good school district with a backyard big enough for Cora's projects and a kitchen where they could make Sunday pancakes together. Archer paid cash, but put the deed in all 3 names. Thorne, Reed, and Reed. His family. They moved in over Memorial Day weekend. Cora got to design her own room, complete with a built-in desk for projects, and shelves for her growing collection of architecture and medical books. Sutton claimed the master bedroom. Archer took one of the guest rooms. We're not there yet, Sutton had said, and Archer respected that. But they were getting there. Slowly. Movie nights turned into goodnight kisses. Family dinners turned into lingering conversations after Cora went to bed. CO parenting turned into partnership, turned into something that felt a lot like love. In July, Archer officially changed his work schedule. No meetings before 9 a.m. or after 4 p.m. No travel unless absolutely necessary, and even then, limited to day trips. No weekend work unless Cora was at a sleepover and Sutton was working. His board of directors thought he'd lost his mind. His investors grumbled. His competition whispered that he'd gone soft. Archer didn't care. He made it to every soccer game, every science fair, every parent-teacher conference. He was there for the tears when Cora didn't make the advanced math program. He was there for the celebration when she won the district science competition. He was there for the ordinary moments that turned out to be the most important ones. And somewhere in the midst of building this new life, Archer fell in love with Sutton all over again. Not the desperate, youthful love of their college years. Something deeper, something tested and proven and strong enough to last. One evening in late September, almost a year after the fateful doctor's appointment, Archer found Sutton in their backyard. Cora was at a friend's house. The evening was quiet and golden with autumn light. Hey, he said, settling onto the porch steps beside her. Hey yourself. Big day tomorrow. The biggest. Cora's 8th birthday party. 8 years old. I can't believe it. I can't believe you've been here for a whole year. Best year of my life. Sutton leaned against his shoulder. Mine too. Well, second best. The year she was born still wins. Fair enough. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Archer took a deep breath. I have something I want to ask you. Okay. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Sutton's breath caught. This isn't the ring I bought 9 years ago, Archer said. That ring was for the girl you were. This ring is for the woman you've become, the mother you are, the doctor you worked so hard to be, the person who's strong enough to give second chances even when it's terrifying. He opened the box. The ring inside was simple but elegant. Perfect. Sutton Reed, you are the love of my life. You're my home, my purpose, my everything. You gave me the greatest gift I could ever receive when you let me be Cora's father. And now I'm asking if you'll give me one more gift. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving every single day that I choose you? That I choose us? Sutton was crying, but smiling. You're proposing on our daughter's birthday eve. I'm proposing now so I can ask Cora's permission tomorrow at her party. I want her to be part of this. I want her to know that we're choosing to be a family, all three of us together. That's actually really sweet. So, is that a yes? Sutton laughed through her tears. You haven't heard my conditions yet. Conditions? If I say yes, that means you're choosing us. Forever. Not just when it's easy. Not just when it's convenient. Through sick kids, and hard days, and fights, and stress, and all of it. Forever, Archer agreed. It means putting Cora first. Always. Even above us. Especially above us. It means being present. Being consistent. Being the man you've proven you can be for the rest of our lives. I can do that. I want to do that. Sutton looked at the ring, then at Archer, then at the house they'd made a home. Then yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll spend the rest of my life with you. Yes to all of it. Archer slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her like he'd been wanting to kiss her for a year. Like he had permission now. Like she was his and he was hers and they were finally whole. When they pulled apart, both breathless and laughing, Sutton said, "We should go inside before the neighbors call the cops." Let them. I'm kissing my fiancée. Fiancée. That sounds nice. It sounds perfect. The next day, Cora's 8th birthday party was in full swing. 20 kids running around their backyard, hopped up on cake and sugar. Cora in the middle of it all, directing activities like the natural leader she was. After cake, after presents, after most of the guests had left, Archer knelt down in front of his daughter. "Hey, birthday girl. Can I talk to you about something important?" Cora bounced over, still wearing her birthday crown. "Sure. You know how much I love you and your mom, right?" "Duh. You tell us like 100 times a day." "Well, I have a question to ask you. Would it be okay with you if I asked your mom to marry me? If we became an official family?" Cora's eyes went wide. "Like you'd be my dad for real? Forever?" "I'm already your dad for real. But yes, forever. And I'd be your mom's husband. Would we keep living here?" "Absolutely. Would we still do Sunday pancakes?" "Every single Sunday. Would you still help me with my projects?" "For as long as you want my help." Cora threw her arms around his neck. "Then yes. Yes. I want to be an official family." Over Cora's head, Archer saw Sutton watching from the porch, tears streaming down her face. "There's one more thing," Archer said. "I was thinking, if it's okay with you and your mom, maybe we could do the wedding on the beach. Somewhere really special, and you could help plan it." "I can help plan it?" "You're the most important person in this family. Of course, you can help plan it." "Can I wear a fancy dress?" "The fanciest dress we can find." "Can we have a cake shaped like a building?" "We can have whatever kind of cake you want." Cora pulled back and looked at him seriously. "You're not going to leave again, right? Even when things get hard?" "Never. I promise. I'm here forever." "Okay, then we should tell Mommy." She ran to Sutton and threw herself into her arms. "Mommy, Daddy's going to marry you, and we're going to be an official family, and I get to help plan the wedding." Sutton met Archer's eyes over their daughter's head. "Is that right?" Archer walked over and wrapped his arms around both of them. "That's right. If you'll have me, we'll have you," Sutton said. Forever. Standing in their backyard, holding his daughter and his fiancée, surrounded by the evidence of the life they'd built together, Archer Thorne finally understood what success truly meant. It wasn't buildings or bank accounts. It wasn't recognition or prestige. Success was this. This moment, this family, this love that had survived devastation and distance and 8 years of regret. Success was coming home and staying home and choosing love every single day. The wedding took place 6 months later on a beach in the San Juan Islands. Small and intimate. Just close family and friends. Cora served as both maid of honor and ring bearer, wearing a dress she'd helped design. That incorporated both elegant formal wear and practical pockets for her notebook. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Cora raised her hand. The entire congregation gasped. Sutton and Archer looked at each other in panic. "Cora, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Sutton asked. "Nothing's wrong," Cora said seriously. "I just wanted to say that I've been waiting for this my whole life. For my family to be together. So nobody better object, because this is the best day ever." The congregation dissolved into laughter and tears. The officiant wiped his eyes and continued. When Archer and Sutton kissed as husband and wife, Cora cheered the loudest. At the reception, during the father-daughter dance, Cora looked up at Archer. "I'm glad you came back, Dad. I'm glad you gave me the chance. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't gone to that doctor's appointment? If you'd never seen Mommy again? I try not to think about it. It's too scary. I think it would have happened anyway. I think somehow, some way, you and Mommy would have found each other again. Because you're supposed to be together. You really think so?" "Yeah, some people are just meant to be a family. Like us, Archer agreed, his heart so full he thought it might burst. Later, during the toasts, Sutton stood up with a champagne glass. "I want to say something about second chances," she began. 8 years ago, the man standing next to me broke my heart. He left when I needed him most. He missed the birth of our daughter. He missed 7 years of her life." The room was silent, everyone wondering where she was going with this. And if someone had told me a year and a half ago that I'd be standing here marrying him, I would have said they were insane. But here's the thing about second chances. They're not about forgetting the past. They're about learning from it, growing from it, becoming better because of it. She turned to Archer. "You're not the same man who left. I'm not the same woman you left behind. We're better versions of ourselves, stronger, more honest, more grateful for every ordinary moment." Raising her glass, she continued, "So here's to second chances. Here's to choosing love over fear. Here's to building something better from broken pieces. And here's to the little girl who made us both better people just by existing." Everyone drank and cheered and cried. When Archer stood for his toast, he kept it simple. "I spent 8 years building an empire of glass and steel. I made more money than I knew what to do with. I won awards. I got my name in magazines, and I was empty, completely, devastatingly empty, because none of it mattered without love, without family, without Sutton and Cora." He looked at his wife and daughter. "You saved me, both of you. You gave me purpose. You showed me what success really means, and I promise to spend the rest of my life earning the gift you've given me." As the reception wound down and guests started to leave, Archer found himself on the beach, with Sutton and Cora, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Best day ever," Cora announced, skipping along the shoreline. "Best day ever," Sutton agreed, leaning into Archer's side. "Best day ever," Archer echoed, wrapping his arm around his wife. And for the first time in 8 years, Archer Thorne went to sleep that night without regret, without the ache of something missing, without the hollow feeling of success that meant nothing. He went to sleep with his wife in his arms, his daughter down the hall, and the absolute certainty that he'd finally found what he'd been searching for all along. Home. Before I bring this story to a close, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a moment that changed your entire life? A moment where you realized what you thought you wanted wasn't actually what you needed? If you have, if this story resonated with you, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button. Leave a comment telling me what your biggest takeaway from this story is. What are you going to choose differently starting today? Subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips, because every week I bring you stories like this. Stories that remind us what really matters. Stories about love, redemption, family, and coming home. Your engagement helps this channel grow, helps me reach more people who need to hear these messages. So please, take a second right now. Like, comment, subscribe, be part of this community. Now let me bring this home with the lesson we all need to hear. Archer and Sutton's story teaches us something profound that we often forget in our race for success. We live in a world that constantly tells us that achievement is everything, that the corner office, the big salary, the impressive title, those are the markers of a life well lived. We sacrifice time with our children for one more meeting. We miss family dinners for networking events. We choose career advancement over being present for the people who love us. And we tell ourselves it's worth it. We tell ourselves we're providing for our families. We tell ourselves that one day, when we've achieved enough, when we've made enough money, when we've reached that next level, then we'll slow down. Then we'll be present. Then we'll prioritize the people who matter. But that day never comes. There's always one more deal, one more promotion, one more opportunity that we can't possibly pass up. Archer Thorne learned this lesson the hard way. He spent 8 years building an empire. He made $200 million. He designed buildings that changed city skylines. He won awards and recognition and prestige, and he was empty. Completely, devastatingly empty. Because here's the truth that took him 8 years to learn. Success without love is just expensive loneliness. Achievement without family is just a hollow trophy case. Buildings and bank accounts and business cards don't hold your hand when you're scared. They don't hug you when you're sad. They don't tell you they love you when you need to hear it most. Sutton's story teaches us about strength in the face of abandonment, about being everything to someone when you have to be, about raising a child alone while finishing medical school and building a career, and somehow, still filling that child with love and confidence and joy. She could have been bitter. She could have raised Cora to hate the father who abandoned them. She could have refused Archer's attempts at reconciliation, and no one would have blamed her. But instead, she chose to give second chances, not because Archer deserved it, not because forgiveness was easy, but because Cora deserved a father, because love is more powerful than hurt when you're brave enough to let it be. And Cora's story? She teaches us about the capacity children have to forgive, to love purely, to give grace when adults hold grudges. She didn't punish Archer for the 7 years he'd missed. She didn't make him pay for his absence. She just loved him. Openly, honestly, completely. Together they teach us that family isn't just biology. It's choice. It's showing up. It's being present, even when it's hard. It's choosing love over everything else, day after day after day. So here's my question for you, the one I want you to really think about. What are you building your life on? What are you choosing every single day? Is it the career, the money, the achievement that society tells you matters? Or is it the people who make life worth living? Because here's what I know. 8 years from now, you won't remember the promotion. You won't remember the big deal. You won't remember the accolade, or the award, or the moment your salary hit that magic number. But you will remember the moments you showed up for your kids, the times you chose your family over your job, the days you said no to opportunity so you could say yes to love. Don't make Archer's mistake. Don't spend years learning a lesson that could cost you everything that actually matters. Don't wake up one day and realize that you've built an empire of glass and steel, but have no one to share it with. Choose love now. Build your real legacy now. The legacy of being present, of being there for bedtime stories and soccer games and science fairs and ordinary Tuesday afternoons. The legacy of being the person your family can count on, not because you're rich or successful or impressive, but because you show up, you stay, you choose them. Second chances are possible. Redemption is real. But why wait for devastation to teach you what you should already know? Why lose years that you can never get back? If you take nothing else from this story, take this. The most important room you'll ever design isn't a boardroom. It's your living room, filled with the people you love. The most impressive structure you'll ever build isn't a skyscraper. It's a family held together by presence and choice and daily commitment. The greatest success you'll ever achieve isn't a dollar amount. It's hearing your child say I love you and knowing you were there for all the moments that mattered. Archer Thorne turned down $1 billion to be Cora's father, not because he's a hero, not because he's special, but because he finally understood that some opportunities only come once, and the opportunity to be present for the people you love is the only one that truly matters. So what will you choose? What are you building? And more importantly, who are you building it for? Choose love. Choose presence. Choose family. Choose to come home, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Choose it today. Choose it tomorrow. Choose it every single day for the rest of your life. Because that, my friends, is the only success story worth telling. That's the only legacy that lasts. That's the only thing that will matter when you look back on your life and ask yourself if it was all worth it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Archer and Sutton and Cora's story. I hope it touched your heart the way it touched mine. Remember, you're loved. You're needed. You're more than enough, exactly as you are. And it's never too late to choose differently. It's never too late to come home. Until next time, this is Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips, reminding you that the best stories are the ones that change how we live.